Okay, super. Thank you. Well, welcome everybody again to a virtual meeting of Heritage Oakville. The weather forecast yesterday was pretty dire, but Oakville, being such a favored place, tends to miss the worst of these storms, but that was not something we could bank on yesterday. So I think the proper decision was made to have our meeting today virtually and make it easier for people to attend and safer too. Anybody watching can be looking on the town's YouTube channel or on oakville.ca. And if they want to pick up a copy of the agenda, they can get that from oakville.ca. Delegations will be virtual. They have been anyway for much of our in-person meetings anyway. And the secretary and the IT people will manage all of that. And you know that we all know the drill now. We're all muted during the course of the meeting, but when it comes time for participation and you want to say something, I'll keep a speakers list. I'll try and see you. Got to look around the screen. Some people know how to use the little yellow hand, and sometimes I even see the little yellow hand. So that's something we could practice too, and me as well. So we have two discussion items today and an information item. And as usual, I'll remind everybody that we are an advisory committee. We make recommendations to Council, Planning and Development Council on March the 6th, 2023 at their meeting at 6:30 p.m. will in fact deal with any recommendations we make. Anybody wanting to delegate at that should let the clerk's office know beforehand, preferably by noon the day before. Okay, so I think that's most of the boilerplate. Do we have any regrets, Madam Secretary?
Mr. Chairman, regrets are received from Russ Buckland, and I have not heard from Bob Ferguson.
I think Bob indicated he wasn't going to be coming back to the committee. He's not seeking reappointment, and I think he kind of indicated he's not. So it's kind of a standing regret we've got from him. We'll miss him.
Right, but his
Okay.
appointment, he's still a member until his membership has been extended until
Yes,
the
I
new
know.
term.
But he decided not to continue to participate, Joe. I think that's what happened.
Okay.
Anyway, are there any declarations of pecuniary interest with respect to matters on the agenda today? Okay. Next item is the confirmation of the minutes of our last meeting, which was January the 31st. Councillor Duddock, that's a motion to approve the minutes as distributed. Anyone opposed to that motion? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Okay, we have two discussion items. Item 4.1 is our first one, and I think it's Carolyn who's up for both of them, in fact. And this is the heritage permit application for 167 Reynolds Street. Okay, Carolyn, it's over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, members of the committee. Wait for the PowerPoint to come up here. So if the clerks and the committee will indulge me, I'm just going to do one quick slide before this item, just to announce that today is Treaty Day in Oakville. So on February 28th in 1820, Treaty 22 was signed, and this treaty covers the Oakville lands at 16 and 12 Mile Creeks in the areas now known as Brawny and downtown Oakville. So just inviting you or any members of the public, if they want to join a chat today at the Oakville Public Library Central Branch from 5 to 7 p.m. There'll be discussions on relearning the treaty's history and how we can all become grateful treaty people. So there's a link there to the event, just plugging that for the local library. And that's it. We'll move on to the presentation. Thank you. So our permit today, the first one, is for 167 Reynolds Street. And it's located in the Trafalgar Road Heritage Conservation District at the southeast corner of Reynolds Street and Sumner Avenue. And the property contains a circa 1929 period revival style two-story brick house. And the application is to demolish the existing one-story wing with attached garage and to construct a new 1.5-story addition with attached garage in the same location, and to replace a non-historic window on the existing heritage house. I'll just show some photos of the house. This is the front elevation along Reynolds Street. Coming around the corner. And this is the view from Sumner Avenue looking south. So obviously the two-story red brick portion is the Heritage House, that's to remain. You can see in the left, bottom left-hand corner of this elevation of the Heritage House, the little newer contemporary sunroom style window, that's the window to be replaced. And then to the left is the one-story wing that's to be replaced with a new one. So everything you see clad in vinyl white siding, that's the section to be replaced with a new addition. And here's just another view from that side. Coming back to the rear, this is just looking at the rear of that one-room wing looking east. And another view from the same location looking west towards the back of the Heritage House. Here's the site plan. In dark gray is the two-story red brick house. On the right-hand side of the site plan with the diagonal lines, that's a footprint of the new addition. The existing wing there is outlined in the dark dotted line, so you can see it is a larger footprint than what's being proposed. The new addition actually is set back in the central portion there, where instead of abutting the Heritage House the way it does today, it's set back there from Sumner Avenue, and it's been brought in from the rear as well. Here's a roof plan showing the existing house with the new addition and how it ties in, the garage portion, how it ties into the existing Heritage House. And here's an elevation view. You can see on the right-hand side is the Heritage House and the new set of windows in the bottom left-hand corner that's proposed for that section. On the left-hand side, we have a 1.5-story addition with a coach house style, which is presenting onto Sumner Avenue. The connecting portion between this coach house section and the Heritage House is set back. They are proposing to clad it in board and batten siding and horizontal wood siding with some wood shingles in a few places to match the wood shingles on the existing Heritage House that you can see in the gables. This is looking from the east, so this is the side portion of the garage. There is a dormer on this elevation with 2 skylights proposed. This is the front of the house, no changes proposed here. I should note, the one change they're proposing here is to install a standing seam metal roof on the front lower portion of the Heritage House, and staff had made a recommendation that this remain as asphalt. And this is from the rear. So again, this is a portion that wouldn't really be that visible. This is looking into the rear yard. They have a garage door to provide access from the garage into the rear yard. And then the upper portion, you can see the whole of the building is lower in height than the existing Heritage House, and the Heritage House still remains the dominant feature on the site. A couple other perspective views which help show the massing a bit better. So again, you can see the garage portion is in line with the Heritage, the Heritage building along Sumner Avenue, but the connecting piece is set back to provide that distinction between the old Heritage House and the new addition. Just another view from the corner. Another view from the garage. And this is from the rear. A couple other views just shown from a bird's eye view. So one other thing I've noted, in addition to the standing seam metal roof that they proposed on the front portion of the Heritage House, it's also proposed in the roof that connects the 2 sections, the old house and the new garage portion. So staff have recommended that metal siding only be used on the small section above the garage, that tiny little overhang, and on the dormer on the east side. Just another view. And then we have our heritage assessment, obviously more details in the staff report, but from a heritage perspective, we look at the Trafalgar Road Heritage Conservation District Plan and guidelines, and staff find that the proposed addition and changes are in keeping with these guidelines. The new addition is located to the rear of the house. It's in the same location as the existing wing, so less of an impact on the property and the district, with maintaining those setbacks and improving some of the existing conditions. The height of the new addition is lower than the Heritage House. The design and materials are considered to be complementary to the Heritage House, but also distinguishable from them. So wood siding, wood shingles that are go along with the brick without matching or without copying the heritage house features. There are no changes to any heritage attributes on the existing historic house. And finally, there were 5 variances that were approved in December 13th, 2022 through the Committee of Adjustment. These were for setbacks, floor area, and lot coverage. They were considered by staff and by the Committee of Adjustment to be minor in nature, and they maintained or improved existing conditions. So staff recommendation is to recommend approval of the application. I do have 4 conditions here that I'll go through. So first, that final details on the cladding, roofing, windows, and doors be submitted to staff for final approval, a pretty standard condition that we include. Secondly, that the historic wood windows in the house remain in place. I think this is the intention of the applicants, but this is just to ensure we have that covered since there are some changes to the one window on the Heritage House. This just covers us to know that all the historic wood windows on the Heritage House will remain. Thirdly, that the roofs on the Heritage House remain finished in asphalt shingles. And finally, that the roofs of the new addition be finished in asphalt shingles as well, except for the east dormer and the north garage overhang, which can be finished in the standing seam metal roofing material as proposed. And I'm happy to answer any questions, and I believe we have the applicants here today as well.
Good, thank you, Carolyn. So any questions of Carolyn? Okay, don't see any. So we have, as you have indicated, one of our 2 delegations today is someone, I think, representing the design group handling the property. Is that right, Madam Secretary? And technical people, are they coming in? Mr. Stambach, you're on mute.
Oh, I'm very sorry about that. I didn't realize you were addressing me. Sorry, Mr. Chair. Yes, I'm here. This is Ozren Stambach.
Yep, and Mr. Polo is here. Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
good,
yes, I
thank
am.
you. Okay, so one or other, or both of you, you can talk to us about the application.
Mr. Chairman, the representatives did register as delegations and are available for questions.
Okay, does anyone wish to speak? You don't want to say anything about the application in general or what you heard Carolyn say? Otherwise, Jerry, you had a question.
Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Chair, through you. I have a question regarding the finishes material on the addition, the metal standing seam roof. My question is, would you consider replacing the metal standing seam roof with the asphalt shingles that match the existing home?
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you for the question. Is that a question for myself or the owner, Anthony Poyo?
Either one?
So I'm just to chime in there real quick. I would defer to the owner wanted this standing seam metal roof to be put on the renderings and to make the application with that standing seam metal roof. So I assume this is their preference, but I will certainly let them speak to if they're willing to change that or how it works in their mind.
Mr. Poyo, do you want to speak to that?
Yeah, no problem. So it's Polo.
Okay.
No worries though. Oh geez, did I just get? Sorry, my screen just flipped out. I do like the look of standing seam metal roof. I think the project that we're doing here is going to really illuminate the way Sumner and the Reynolds intersection is, as far as capturing the heritage, is also providing functionality to the property. I have investigated various other precedents in the area, one particularly on the street that has the existing house and the entire new addition as standing seam metal roof. If it is a contention item, then for sure we can look at the option of going with asphalt, an asphalt roof. I just, from the appearance from the street level, I think the standing seam has a quite nice taste to the, and adds to the street. So I don't know what everybody's opinion is on that.
Okay, Jerry, did that answer your question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Mr. Polo, for answering that. The reason I bring that up as a question is because you have chosen a traditional aesthetic to add on to a traditional and heritage home. And because of that, the standing seam metal roof doesn't really respond in the same language. And therefore, it is detracting to the eye aesthetically regarding the architectural forms meeting each other. If you had chosen contemporary aesthetic, I could see the standing seam roof working really well. But right now, it doesn't really, to my eye, and this is my opinion only, it doesn't really seem to blend and speak the same language that you have chosen to render your addition.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions of the applicants? Okay, there are no more questions. So thank you to both of you. Just stay on the line, but stay muted now. We're going to be confined to the board. Thank you. Okay, any discussion? Who wants to speak? Okay, Jerry?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think this is a lovely heritage home on the corner, and it, as Mr. Polo indicated, it is a bit of a landmark, and it's visually accessible and prominent. I think the massing proportion is really nicely done and works well to advocate for the integrity of the heritage structure. It is set back, it provides for shadow lines, uses, echoes, and works from the existing shapes of the house and keeps the height below that of the existing heritage. I feel there are a few missed opportunities here from an architectural refinement perspective that would add value to the entire home and strengthen the relationship of old and new architecture in the form, I say this in the form of windows, skylights, and finish materials. These are not major details, but I think as a whole, they would lend to adding value and to minimize the visual distraction on the facades. And examples being the awkward placement, to my eye, the awkward placement and proportion of windows in that breezeway mudroom area, and I'm looking at the north elevation, the Sumner side, excuse me, and above the garage doors, the double square skylights versus the triple rectangular skylights. And of course, the metal roof, I don't believe is suitable for the addition. An example for the fenestration at the breezeway on the north Sumner side would be a decision to be made whether to carry the double divided light from the ground floor to the second floor or bring the triple divided lights from the second floor to the ground floor. So it provides a bit more of a continuity vertically. Having both doesn't strengthen the form and adds yet another window style to the already multi-diverse fenestration on this house. On the same elevation, the windows above the garage door appear too large for the gable. They almost appear that as if they belong on another part of the house or another type of area. The triple division doesn't work aesthetically, architecturally under that gable. Perhaps a double window in a proportional shape that already exists on the main house may integrate more proportionally with the roof. And I guess those are my comments, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. All good comments. And I'm sure Caroline was noting those. Any other comments? Any other questions? Okay, we have a staff recommendation in front of us, which could form the basis of a motion. And you will notice from that staff have recommended that the main roofing material be asphalt, and that also be asphalt on the Reynolds Road side, and that the standing seam would be limited to above the garage and on the dormer roof on the east side above the garage. So that would be the staff recommendation, and that would be a change from what was submitted. Jerry was talking about detail around the fenestration, which is something at this stage is relatively easy to handle. We haven't started building yet. Would you think, Jerry, that that the final details on the cladding, roofing, windows and doors, item A on the recommendation handled by staff, would that be sufficient for Carolyn to work with the applicant on those?
Oh, I believe so, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so
Yes.
that if that were to happen, that would satisfy your concern at this point. Okay, that's good. Okay, fine. And you've got that, Carolyn.
Yes, through Mr. Chair, I've
And the
made some
applicants
notes.
have heard that too. These are all suggestions where we try to help improve things for you. We're not trying to put up roadblocks here. We're just trying to give you the benefit of experience. And I think most people find that helpful. I hope you do too. Okay, so we have then a staff recommendation, which includes the references to the standing seam and so on. Would somebody like to propose that? Don't be shy. Thank you, Councillor Gittings. So Councillor Gittings has proposed a motion, which is essentially the staff recommendation. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Is there anyone opposed to that motion? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Thank you, gentlemen, for attending this morning. As I indicated at the head end, this goes to the Planning and Development Council meeting on March the 3rd. And if you wish to delegate, then you're free to do so. Otherwise, it will be dealt with in the normal course of business. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, our next item is item number 4.2, which is a heritage permit application for 394 Lakeshore Road East. And again, that's Carolyn, and we do have a delegation for that too. And I'm sure the IT people and others will look after that. Off you go, Carolyn.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. So 394 Lakeshore Road East. This is a view of the house looking south from Lakeshore Road. It's located in the 1st and 2nd Street Heritage Conservation District, as you can see in the map. It includes a circa 1920s two-story stucco-clad house, and the application is to demolish the existing rear one-story wing and to construct a new two-story rear addition. First, just some views of the front of the house from Lakeshore Road. Here's a view from the rear yard. This includes the one-story rear wing that is to be demolished. The two-story portion will remain intact. A couple more views up close of the Heritage House. No proposals being made to the Heritage House in terms of its existing materials and details. That will all remain the same as it is today. And here is a side elevation looking north, and you can see the one-story wing on the right-hand side in that left photo, and on the right-hand side, the view of the balcony over top of this addition. So you can see in this site plan, there's the Heritage Building outlined in blue with the existing rear wing and rear decks included, and shown in red dotted line is the footprint of the proposed new addition. And here is another site plan showing these details of the new addition. We have two portions that are coming out, gable roof sections, one coming out straight and to the northeast, coming out on the east side of the Heritage House, and the other being angled towards the southwest. Here's the roof plan, which makes it a little bit more clear. Again, the Heritage House is to remain. As part of this proposal, one of the chimneys will be removed on the Heritage House, and the other will be on the east side will remain. Here's the elevation of the front on Lakeshore. Again, no changes proposed. Everything that you see today remains. And then this is the rear elevation. A little bit difficult to see in elevation view, but we do have some perspectives. So again, there are two gable roofed sections coming out over a one-story new addition. All of the new addition is lower in height than the heritage house and will be tucked in on the side slightly so that it won't be very visible from the street. Here is looking west at the new addition. And this is looking east, showing the new addition. The rear or the first story is proposed to be finished in traditional stucco, and the second story portions are to be finished in cedar shingles that will go up into the roof to create a pretty consistent look from the roof down to the walls of the second floor. Here's a perspective view from the rear yard showing the two portions coming out. Again, you can see how that angled section in the top left-hand corner shows. There will be lots of glazing, large glazed units on the back of the whole addition, looking into the rear yard. Again, a more contemporary feel, but this will be located at the back of the house into the rear yard. The view from Lakeshore Road. So again, the view from Lakeshore Road won't really change. The heritage house will remain prominent on the site. You can see from this view how the new addition tucks itself into the existing roof line and in from the sides of the heritage house, so that when you are looking at the property from the district, it won't be visible. It will just be this new section that when you come around to the rear of the house, you can see has been added to the heritage house. And another view from the rear yard. And the intention, well, final details haven't been included yet in terms of the materials. As always, we have included the condition that these be provided to staff, but the idea is to do a color scheme that is consistent so that they all work together, but they're a little bit different using lighter materials at the rear of the house. Lighter colored materials, I should say. So in terms of assessing the application, we've used the First and Second Street Heritage Conservation District Plan and Guidelines. And in reviewing that, staff is supportive of the application. The new addition is located to the rear of the property and the house with minimal impact on the streetscape. The design materials are complementary to and distinguishable from the heritage house. It is a more contemporary design, but the materials of wood siding and stucco rendering are traditional. So keeping that balance in terms of being complementary to the existing district, but still allowing for the new addition to be separate and distinct from the heritage house. Again, no changes proposed to the heritage house itself, and no minor variances are required. The staff recommendation is a fairly simple one. We're just asking that the application be approved, subject to final details on the windows, doors, cladding materials, and paint colors being submitted to staff for final approval. And I'm happy to answer any questions, and I know we have the applicants here as well.
Super, thank you, Carolyn. Are there any questions of Carolyn on her presentation? No, okay. So the applicant hasn't appeared on my screen yet, but I'm expecting the technical people to work that miracle anytime now. Mr. Burwell, I can see your card. I can't. You're right. I can see you, and you're on speaker, so that's good. Are there any insights you want to share with respect to the application, or any comments you want to make on what you heard Carolyn say?
Well, first of all, thank you for having us. And I think Carolyn did a great job of summing up the proposal. We see it as sort of a beautiful addition to the neighborhood, respectful of the neighborhood, celebrating the existing heritage home, and creating what we think is a very beautiful modern addition to the rear, which really complements sort of the small scale of some of the heritage homes in the neighborhood. And we're very excited about the proposal. So thank you for having us.
Okay, thank you. I must say, when I first, Chair's not supposed to say anything actually, but when I first saw this, I was excited. I thought, what an interesting addition! Just beautifully done, and very functional and very respectful of the heritage house. Just lovely. Anyway, having said that,
It's 10 o'clock.
I'm sorry, my computer tells me the time, so And if I'm not on mute, you're going to hear that. So any questions of Mr. Burwell from any member of the committee?
Hello, how you doing? Good.
I'm hearing somebody speaking in the background. I don't know who it is. Anyway, so I don't think there are any questions of you. Well, that's good. So if you can just stand by. We're going into now be confined to the board. So you just be watching now any further discussion that might take place. So we're
Great,
confined
thank
to
you.
the board now. Thank you for your presentation or your appearance and availability for answering questions. Okay, any discussion or comment? Okay. Gary?
I just was, through you, Mr. Chair, I was just going to concur with your assessment. I think it's exciting, it's beautiful, it's lovely. Only one slight question was overlook onto the neighbors on the one that angles, but I just think it's a beautiful addition.
Yeah.
And respectful of the Heritage House, just a joy to see.
Yeah, good, thank you. And would that mean that you would be happy to move the recommendation?
I would, except Jerry's got her hand up.
Oh, she has the yellow hand up. Okay, well, okay, Jerry, if you want to get into it first, off you go. Get yourself off mute. There you go.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I concur with both you and Carrie. It's a delightful experience seeing this bold and playful proposal. The heritage elements are left absolutely untouched as experienced from the public street realm. And all of the architectural play is experienced in the rear of the house in a lovely progression of surprise and discovery for the visitor. And to Carrie's concern about the neighbors, I too thought of that. And then I looked at their 3D renderings on page 68 and 69. And the actual facade that looks onto the neighbor's yard is without any fenestration in it. So they created an internal court and handled glazing from the rear and the internal little terrace court area that they've provided. Every single detail of this addition appears thought of with respect to the existing home, proportion, finish materials, angles for both 3D vertical and horizontal elements, from the shape of the new gables to the angles of the exterior decks, and all done with a contemporary architectural palette of forms and integrating with the existing house by the use of finishes in color. So if we do get a little peekaboo view from the street, it will be balanced with the materials and color that conforms and works with the existing house. This is a great example to counter the criticism we often hear that working with a heritage home is restrictive. Here, with creativity and skill, possibilities are limitless, and all the while working within the rules. And the only thing I want to conclude with is God is in the details and in the hands of Timothy here. So good luck. We like to see the details of the eaves meeting the vertical walls. So those little things really don't show well. And of course, they don't show in the 3D modeling, but those are critical to the successful completion of this project. So best of luck with that. It's lovely. Thank you.
What Jerry's also saying is we all want to come and see it when it's finished. Okay, so who wants to make the motion? Carrie, thank you, thank you. So we have the motion on the floor and it's essentially the staff recommendation and the restrictions are all minimal. Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Anyone opposed to the motion? Seeing none, the motion is carried. So thank you, Timothy, for coming this morning. And as you heard earlier, this will go to Planning and Development Council on March the 3rd and will be dealt with by them. Okay, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much, everyone. Take care.
Yeah.
All right. So we're now into 5 information items and the Heritage Conservation District update. Is Kirk going to give us that? Yes, he is. Over to you, Kirk.
Through you, Mr. Chair, thank you, and good morning to the committee. It's great to see everyone here virtually. I would also like to extend our thanks from staff to the committee for your extended commitment while we determine who the next committee members are going to be. So thank you from all of us for your commitment. In terms of the Heritage Conservation District update, the study is continuing very well. We have concluded the first round of engagements with our stakeholders and inputs, so the online survey and meetings with various representatives down in the Conservation District. Your ward councillors and heritage councillors have also been engaged, and that's been a really great series of meetings and conversations that we've had. All those inputs and all the research and all the information that's been provided are in the hands of the consulting team right now, and they're busy preparing a draft of the study report. We anticipate that draft coming into staff here at the town very soon, and then following that, in terms of process, we'll be bringing that through to a public meeting, public information meeting. There'll be refinements along the way, lots of people looking at it. And then we'll be presenting that ultimately to Heritage Oakville Committee and then on to Planning and Development Council. And by then, we will have had lots of time to look at it and to provide input and to see that it's done well and the revisions reflect what everybody wishes to see in there. I guess that's about it. The dates, probably by the time of our next meeting here with committee, we'll have some dates that we can share in terms of what engagement looks like and how we're proceeding through the spring agendas and bringing all that information forward and seeking input. And that's it for my update. Mr. Chair, if there are any questions or comments from committee, I'd be happy to answer those.
Super, thank you, Kirk. Any questions of Kirk? It looks like the process is not closing, not finishing yet, but has reached a good place. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Kirk.
Thank you.
Can I have a motion to receive the information items, please? I think Brenda, thank you very much. Anyone opposed to that motion? Seeing none, the motion is carried. Now, the date and time of our next meeting is March the 28th, and as Kirk mentioned, and as we all know, our extended period of membership is now at an end, and council will be making appropriate appointments to the committee. We've lost Daniela and we've lost Bob during the course of our last term, so there are at least 2 vacancies on the committee. It looks like the next wee while is going to be very busy for the committee, partly because of the district plan coming through, but as you will recall, the sort of job jar we had of the sort of part 5 or whatever you've done, the listings, the heritage listing group has been put into forced growth, if you like, because the province has said within 2 years you need to clean out that list. You either go to part 4 or you take people off, and any houses coming off can't go on again for at least 5 more years. So I know that, and you've had notification of the beefing up of staff at the Heritage Planning Group. Elaine is sort of sitting in, she's coming on, and there's another Kirsten coming, not the same Kirsten we had a wee while ago, filling in, in fact, it was a few years ago, filling in for Carolyn's mat leave. But there is another one coming in, so there's going to be more staff. It's going to be a busy time for this committee. So I would thank you all for the gift of your time and your participation. It's active, and I think it really helps the cause of heritage in the town. So I could call now for a motion to adjourn. I've got that from George. And just before I go, there was another thing I wanted to say, which was when we were looking at the Lakeshore Road, that was Carol Lorimer's house, I'm pretty sure, who was a member of this committee. And as George mentioned earlier, we lost Brian Emo. Some of you may remember Brian. He was a long-time member of the committee a number of years ago. And gosh, he was 93. I hadn't realized that age because he was short guy, and he died just recently. So that's another one of our members, someone who made a good contribution to this committee. Okay, good. So we've got a motion to adjourn. I'm sure nobody's opposed to it. So the meeting is now adjourned. thank you very much, everybody, and we'll maybe see you later. Bye. Bye.